The rumors kept swirling, but none of them made sense. Amaka wouldn't just leave. Something had happened and I had to find out what. During break I pulled Sola aside. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low. He raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "Amaka." Sola sighed. "Bro, let it go. He's gone. You don't want trouble with Kola and his boys." But I wasn't giving up. She didn't just leave. They did something to her. Sola hesitated, then looked around before whispering, "Okay, I heard something. There's a place behind the school hall where those guys meet. If Amaka's in trouble, that's where you'll find answers." That night, I sneaked out again, my heart pounding in my chest. The school hall loomed in the darkness, and behind it, I spotted a dim light flickering. Voices murmured from the shadows. I crept closer and peered through a small gap in the wooden fence. Kola stood at the center, his arms crossed. "You think you can leave just like that?" he said. Amaka was there. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. "I didn't say anything, I swear," she pleaded. Cold voice responded, "Then prove it." My breath caught as one of the prefects handed Kola something. A small white envelope. "Kola smirket. Deliver this to Mr. Adebayo tomorrow. No mistakes. And no more distractions." Amaka hesitated, then took the envelope with trembling fingers. I had seen enough. I backed away slowly, but I wasn't careful enough. My foot snapped a twig. The voices stopped. "Who's there?" Ran. I didn't stop until I reached my dorm, my heart racing. I barely slept, my mind filled with questions. What was in that envelope? And why was Amaka so afraid? The next day, I watched her closely. She looked exhausted, her eyes darting around like she expected someone to attack her. Then, just before lunch, she walked toward the staff room, holding the envelope. I couldn't let her do it. I rushed after her. "Amaka, wait." I grabbed her arm. She froze. "What are you doing?" She whispered harshly. "I saw everything," I said. "Whatever's in that envelope, you don't have to do this." Tears welled in her eyes. "Have no choice." "You do," I insisted. "We'll figure something out." She looked at me for a long moment, then suddenly, she shoved the envelope into my hands. "Then you take it." I blinked. "What?" She stepped back. "If you really want to help, then keep it safe. Don't let them get it back." Before I could respond, she turned and walked away. I stared at the envelope in my hands. What had I just gotten myself into? I stared at the envelope in my hands, my heart hammering. Whatever was inside had power. Power over Amaka, over Kola, and maybe even over the school. I needed answers. I rushed to the boys' hostel and locked myself in my dorm. My fingers trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside was a folded sheet of paper. I unfolded it and read. My blood ran cold. It was a list of names. Teachers, students, even the principal. Beside each name was a number. Amounts of money. Some figures were small, others shockingly high. At the bottom of the list was a signature. Mr. Adebayo. My mind spun. Mr. Adebayo was our school's vice principal. He was strict, always lecturing us about discipline. But this, it looked like a record of bribes, payments, deals made in secret. This was why Kola controlled the school. He wasn't just a bully, he was part of something bigger. And they were using Amaka to deliver messages, keeping her trapped. I needed to find her. At night, I waited by the old library. If she had taken that risk by giving me the letter, she'd come. She did. "You opened it, didn't you?" she whispered. He nodded. "What is this, Amaka?" Tears filled her eyes. Proof. Kola and his boys work for Mr. Adebayo. They take money from students, promising them grades, protection, even covering up their crimes. If someone tries to expose them, they make them disappear. Disappear. My throat went dry. Spelled. Silenced. Or worse. He shivered. I was supposed to deliver that paper to Mr. Adebayo today. If I didn't, they said I'd be next. I clenched my fists. We have to expose them. How? She looked around in fear. Kola already suspects you. If he finds out you have that list. Before she could finish, we heard footsteps. Kola. When? Amaka gasped. But we weren't fast enough. Kola and his boys blocked the path. His smirk was gone. I warned you, boy. I tightened my grip on the envelope. It's over, Kola. He chuckled darkly. You think so? Then he lunged. I barely dodged. One of his guys grabbed Amaka's wrist. She screamed, struggling to break free. My blood boiled. I swung wildly, my fist connecting with Kola's jaw. He stumbled back, cursing. I kicked the other guy's leg, forcing him to let go of Amaka. Run! He yelled. We sprinted toward the school compound. Behind us, Kola and his boys roared in anger, chasing after us. But luck was on our side. A flashlight beamed ahead. A deep voice shouted, "What's going on here?" It was the principal. Breathless, I held out the envelope. "Sir, you need to see this." The principal frowned and took the paper. As his eyes scanned the names, his face darkened. He turned to Kola, his voice cold. "Come with me." Kola's face drained of color. He knew it was over. By the next morning, news spread like wildfire. Mr. Adebayo was suspended, pending an investigation. Kola and his gang were expelled. And Amaka, she was free. She found me after assembly, her eyes shining. "You saved me." I grinned. "You saved yourself." She laughed, then before I could react, she hugged me. "Thank you, really." My heart raced. "Anytime." As she pulled back, our eyes met, and for the first time, I saw something new in her gaze. Maybe, just maybe, I wasn't just her savior. Maybe I was her crush too.